all the screw-ups I made in my last game of 1849, I'm giving it another shot. I wish I had gotten a chance to hit it right away, because I don't really remember what I did wrong all that much. One thing I did right, though, is I put all these little markers on the board to begin with, so I don't forget them. The rules actually suggest that. Another thing that I did wrong, well, one thing I did wrong was, well, okay, so two people basically chimed in about it, who think that the game should be played without the optional rolls. So I'm going to go without the optional rolls. One of the two suggested playing with 3 or 4 players. I generally try to shy away from that. Usually what small number of players in an 18xx game means is too much control. I'm not in favor of that. I understand why players want that, but to me, any individual player should have very little control over the game. The less, the better. It becomes way too much like a Euro when you start getting control of the game. Because what ends up happening is you're able to control enough of the companies or whatever to sort of dominate the game and just leap to an incredible victory. There are a couple that are designed for 3 to 4 players, but I mean, usually for me, it's a 6-player game, right? You know, I mean, most of the XXs hold 6, some more, some less. This one is one of the ones that only holds 5 at a max. So that's what I'm going to go with. I don't know if the desire there was to get rid of a company and maybe a specific one. However, I do see some circumstances where it may not be as bad as it looks. So for example, this company here, and I've already set up the order that the companies are going to come out in. If one of the players, one of the players is going to be given the choice, do you want to start this company? That player might want to own this. This is the private company that by closing it allows you to migrate, basically. Throw a dot and some track somewhere else. Because what another player, one of the two players actually suggested was, this is one of the weakest company, by far is the weakest company in the game. And I happen to agree. I was not impressed with, it's in the wrong place. It's in the wrong place on the board. And doesn't have easy access to any of the big money spaces. Yeah, okay. It didn't help for me that it got stuck with one of these, one of the little trains at the end, and probably had enough money, if I recall correctly, it had enough money for one of the bigger ones. So like, it ended up not in a good position in many ways. There's like this sort of final type of train that if you're not the first person to buy the 16H, I think it is, you get stuck with this R6H or something like that. It's a reverse train that works better on the narrow track and whatever. Oh, what else do we have? Some other things that I had in mind that I have to keep track of. This is nothing too exciting. This one, a little bit of an advantage laying track in the mountain spaces. In general, most of the companies early in the game when that thing was in play did not want to spend money. This one is the $20 token, which is only for that corporation, but definitely closes when you use it. It doesn't have any options or anything, which makes it a weaker version of what I'm used to with those ports. Sometimes they give you the option to switch, but anyway, the fact that like it kills your revenue makes it not as valuable as some of the token-based, as some of the improvement-based cards that are out there. This one again allows you to just Rebirth somewhere, which is actually pretty damn potent, especially since you can sell it for, $220. And the B&O equivalent, well, first of all, it's on a moving company basis, and the Garibaldi is our first company. Now, if I am correct, that's the one that can show up anywhere. Not anywhere, but let's look. Yeah, that's the one that has several different choices for home cities. And what's the advantage of this piece, or this private company, is that not only does it give you the $25, initial purchase price, but you can start the company $50 higher than what the initial face value of that private is. So that has become more valued to me than I usually would make it. The B&O in 1830 is a little overpriced. This feels significantly underpriced, but it's up to the it's the last one, so it's up to the players entirely how much they need to move that price around. But yeah, this is going to become one of the high valued pieces because of that increase in value. And if it were tied to like the Pink Company, hey, maybe it becomes an iffy thing. But with the Garibaldi, it has a significant choice of places: Calatanisa, Messina, Bragusa, Terranova, and Trapani. It's basically all the places that players are not. Catania? That looks like it has a thing on it, so that would change. No. Catalanesia, I don't know. There's Trapani. Catalanesia. Basically, it's all the spaces that don't have something already on them, which makes it for more interesting choices. Now, they're going to show up somewhere valuable. Syracuse never gets very valuable, so being over on here seems like you're trying to be as bad as that. But anyway, I'll review the choices. This looks like a lot of work to get through. This is out in the middle of nowhere early in the game, a lot of work to get through. So my guess is we're looking at Messina for a starting place. Of course, we have to make sure we don't only have Messina if that's the case. This doesn't look too far from interesting stuff. I can get to Catania, but the thing is, Messina has an easier route there, so screw it, man. And it's also in between Catania and Palermo, so eventually, there might be a really, really impressive run. Anyway, what this means is and yeah, I'm kind of doing an intro on this, but trying to refresh my thoughts. I reread the rules and thought a little bit about it, but that was 2 days ago, and more bad stuff has happened. So, yeah, let me think. So the biggie with the optionals that I'm taking away the bonds, which I didn't really use early in the game. One thing that they helped is you could actually take out a bond to buy a train if you needed one. You can't sell stock from your corporation to buy a train on the turn you need it. You've got to plan a turn ahead, and that's going to just fucking kill me, and I'm going to still be making mistakes all over the place. Because that's one of the big mistakes that I made is I allowed that fundraising to happen. And I mean, once I had done it for one or two companies, I'm like, screw it, I'll do it for all of them. But it's a big thing. I don't remember the mistake that killed me for the game. That may have been the one. I don't know. And then, the exchange of station tokens, that's a really interesting way to rape a company. I love that, but okay, I'm willing to get rid of that. I mean, I like all the optionals in theory, but people are telling me it's a much, much better game without them. Never play it with them. I don't know. It looks like I want to make more options, like let's make financing, able to fit your mindset. I need a train. Okay, that's when I get my money. And then the Electric Dreams, the E-Train. I always like that kind of decision making. The big long train at the end of the game. It's pretty potent in this. We saw that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get more historical results, whatever that means. XX. All right, so I'm gonna play out my randomizations on the privates, and we'll see what the starting portfolio is. And remember, this is like a fixed packet, which means the Garibaldi, which can move around and do stuff. This one, which has proven itself to be pretty good. The Lily Bio. It's got to do some work to make, the early money, but it's in a good position for the late game, I guess. The piece of shit that didn't go well, the company that failed to start last time, and then that leaves a sixth company available for people, which is one of the better ones in my opinion, from what little I've seen. Okay, let's see. Okay, opening bids on the privates were dropped down, and we see a centralization on the Garibaldi. And for whatever reason on the Mountain Digger, a little bit here, nothing on here, and obviously this hasn't fallen yet. It's going to all fall hard. Well, no, nobody's got a bid there, but it's probably going to all fall pretty hard once somebody buys that first one. The question is getting your bids in on the other things. I'm using my standard sort of 1 to 6 roll, but because there's a 6 space, what I do is on odd, I put it into this because I think it's the best, and groupthink, whatever you want to say. And then if that fails, I do an odd even because I think these two are the best. I do the same kind of thing in 1830. The difference there being, hey, it's just 1 to 6, so I can just do that. And sometimes that's the best move, right? If you're playing 5 players in 1830, grab the Saki Valley, equivalent to this, and this is true if you're playing in 4 here, and then you get 2 companies, guaranteed. I consider one of them pathological situations. Everybody's bidding on this, and I don't know what to do about that. It eats up my capability of marking, hey, who's going for what. At this point, so many people have put bids on everything. It's going to take some effort to even figure out, hey, do you have enough money, left over? I know this guy did. He bid on 2 of the low ones. But yeah, I mean, clearly enough money to buy this. But to put another bid on a big one, wow, that's going to take some calculation at this point. It's getting complicated. Said that, this guy picks up the cheapie. He's in bids on a couple more. Everybody's on bids on a couple. That sets the priority. It's going to be here, if I understand how they're wording this correctly. It's a little weird. Play now resumes with the player to the left of the last player to buy the lowest numbered available company. Well, each one that's bid on is actually the lowest numbered available company, but what I think they mean is this option rather than winning through an auction. I'm not sure. Again, it's not the best way to have worded it. And a pretty big bid on this. Let's see, he's got 25, 35 left. He spent 65 on that. That's a lot for something that I don't think is all that worthwhile. But I do let the dice, choose who's interested in what, and then try to figure out. Now, I think last time I was trying to work more among the, hey, 68, 100 pricing, but you have some capability to generate more revenue to begin with, so I don't know. I went with this way instead. That leaves 3 people bidding on this one, so 100, this one came for 115, which is kind of a deal. Like I said, I think that's a very powerful one. He also has first choice. What does that mean that he has priority? Well, that means he's going to get the shot at somebody who's already set up in a pretty good place. So, this may be his second company that he uses this on, or whatever. Well, he probably can't because you probably need the cash from selling that to a corporation to be able to use it. But whatever. We'll see. We'll see how he uses that. It could get him over to Messina more easily, which might be more valuable than Palermo. I don't know. Yeah, but in a sense, kind of not the person you want, but there's not much choice in it. He put his bid in, nobody else bid on it, and then this guy buys that and just forces the priority on me, and it's like, well, it's not a bad company, I don't mind it, but oh no, yeah, number 2 is that one. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I was confusing this with one of the Lonnie games I played recently, where when you first float a company, you can immediately release some shares into the bank pool. You cannot in this. But you're normally allowed to buy 2 extra certificates, but that's not the case with the Garibaldi, which is fine. I don't know how big a deal that is. I really don't. I really don't. It speeds. It gives you an edge in priority. Is basically all it seems to do, from what I can see. But yeah, starting that at he paid 180 for it, which is not as good a markup as usual, or as it was last time, but it's still pretty good. And I don't know. I don't know if that was a great idea to pass, but the other 2 players eventually, dropped out fairly quickly, actually. Out of the places I can start, like I said, I don't see any reason not to take Messina. So that's where we're going to be. And that's going to start us with the stock round, I guess, with him. He kind of has no option. Not that that's a bad choice at all. And we'll figure out how much we want to spend on things. So this is 175, 185. Well, can't start it at 100. I got to buy my tokens up front. This is only a $40 token set. What's the one that pays a fortune on this? I think it's this one. This one pays a huge amount. In Trincaria, which starts in Catania. Sort of the best positions pay the most. The Garibaldi does not pay much, though, and seems to start in a pretty good place. So, yeah. Paying 40 is not a big deal. Paying 130 or 90 strikes me as a fairly big chunk of change. We're in the uh-oh position here, and I'm catching it in time. If I buy this company, and remember, I have the capability to shift to wherever I want. If I buy that company, it did not have a lot of cash in my hand because I bought this big guy, which means there's only 136 bucks in the company, and I have no capacity to put more in. I have to pay 130 on my token fee. This time I am going to be smart, and I am not going to start the company. I am going to pass. I think passing is the best option because I may get a company that I can afford to start. I'm only going to be able to put 2 shares at 68 a share into whatever I buy. So by passing, that's great. This guy is not gonna buy a share of that. Am I gonna throw $100 into the Garibaldi? Yeah, if I spend the money on my own company, what am I doing, right? I'm nothing on the first round. I think that so here's the problem. In an 1830 game, sometimes and maybe other XXs, and I don't know if this one's the case, sometimes you get locked in with your priority from the very first turn for a while, if nobody's making a lot of money. And so like the key purchase can actually be based on that. So given that this guy's passing, he's probably going to be doing more. Not necessarily the first, but very early in the game when you lock in. So if I buy that extra share now, I might be saving myself some priority for later. On the other hand, I have 120 bucks here. That's almost enough money to buy 2 cheaper shares, which would leave more shares in here for me to make run money off of, and give me you know, more shares that I'm making money off of. I don't know what to do. Ought I buy my share, I guess? Nope, I'm gonna hold off. It's on him. This is a good company. There's no question. We know that. However, I bought a private company. And this may be why people like the 4-player game. I am loving this hard choice of, hey, there's a fixed order to the companies, and you may not be able to buy the company that's being offered to you. You may not be able to afford it for the reason he was not able to take it, for the reason he's got to make a choice that means a $68 a share purchase price instead of that 100. The 100, I'd have 200 in here. It's 130 in tokens. That leaves me 70 bucks. Not enough money to buy a train. I make 10 more bucks here. I'm not going to be able to get that cash on hand anytime soon. However, at 68 bucks, I can buy 3 shares of it. And wow, that doesn't sound very good either. That doesn't give me enough either. Interesting. Wow. We may not be able to start the companies because of the cash on hand. What about this guy? This guy's got a boatload of money. 280. Again, you can't start it at 100. He will be able to buy that 4 shares. And it looks like that'll get most of the money in there. 270, which easily gives him enough cash to buy that train. So this guy has only 235 bucks. And this guy's even poorer because we bid so much, right? 230. This is getting interesting. No. 235 divided by 68. I'm about halfway there. And we did the 68 times 3 is 204. So let me think what happens if I buy this without being able to get that extra share. Now, as we mentioned, there is a way to give financial activities. You can't sell stock during your first operating round, though. So it means it's 2 operating rounds before I have enough cash. I will not be able to buy a train until my 3rd operating round. That is a massive, massive hit in terms of the amount of money that I'm going to have available. So let's look at what the world looks like. This guy's the only guy with enough cash to buy that train, that company. Okay. He buys it. Number 3, he's going to buy that. That means I'm given the option on number 4. Oh, number 4 sucks. Now, maybe I can run number 4 into the ground somehow and buy number 6. But number 4 doesn't even look like it's likely to make tons and tons of money early on. You know, it starts here. I don't have the port thing, so I can't get the extra 20 from that port. Maybe I just want to be an investor, or maybe I want to buy this. So I've got 3 options. The cleanest, easiest option is on a 1. I'm gonna play out. I'm just gonna pass. The next option is go for this, even though I'm gonna have to hold on to it for a couple of rounds because it is actually the best company out there. And the number 3 option is I'm just going to invest and screw it, which is also a pass. Number 1 was a pass. I'm going to look at the Lily bio as my intention. And I'm going to give myself a counter because remembering what I'm doing is not particularly easy. My feeling is, well, I have the right private for this company, but I don't think anything can really be done to help it too much. But at least I can cut through towards Palermo, which might make it a more interesting company to at the beginning of the game. That's a lot of cash, but it's not a huge amount, right? This guy has to go through a 160. Here I'd be going through, it's half the value, right? For normal track, I'd be going through 20, 40, 120. So maybe not that terrible. And that's the whole thing. I don't have to use the narrow track. On the other hand, I have to set other stuff up first. So yeah, I'm not too unhappy about it. That gives him a similar option. But I'm not going to be forced into the Lily bio as far as I can see, except maybe this guy's just going to pass and be an investor. On a 1, I'm cognizant of that thought, I guess. I am not. Which means I'm looking at, yeah, I got no problem with where I'm going. I will pass. Now that means we're back up here. And he's got enough money for the best company in the game, and granted, he doesn't... Ooh, this is why the Garibaldi sucks. Wow. Being there. Shitties. Not going to be easy to avoid that, but... I mean, at least it's a 30-point city. Fuck it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, given that, maybe this is a better choice of cities. Or even this. I think I made my choice, though. I mean, I don't know how much it would impact any of my decisions. So let me think about a little bit more on that before I set this guy up. Obviously, there's no way, you know, in an opposed game, I'd be like, oh, wait a minute, I screwed up. I'd just be like, I'm fucked. How am I gonna make the best out of this? Because it's not a good situation, but it's not that terrible. I can run out to here. I do want to. The reason I'm wanting to look at this is I'm investigating it, you know, as an early start. And since I'm soloing and trying to investigate the play of the game, I feel like if I can make a better choice with the Garibaldi, it might make for a better unfolding of the, not of the story, but of how you know, how the choices really should have gone. I'm going to stick. Wow, this guy's feeling awfully weird. He didn't buy his second share or his third share, and nobody else has bought anything. I think I'm going to stick here. Here's the reason. I hooked this up, it's free. I hooked this up, it's free. I'm running 2 trains, you know, making some money, whatever. That's fine. You know, sort of at a worse. So I'm in a good position at the beginning of the game. Not as good as Palermo, but good. If I build this, I'm going to have to be building normal track to get to Catania until the green. I could link into this as an early, connection. That's still going to cost me $60 using the narrow gauge track, and that's a lot. Now, see, what's nice is the long range setup puts me in the range for this. Let me think about the money that is involved. Let me think again about it. So my initial cost, if I want to hook this up, and that would allow me to run 1, 2, Jesus, yeah, that's it. I mean, if I want to get down here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need a 6 train to get down there. I mean, the long-term positioning of this is actually pretty good, and I could see the Garibaldi starting there, but not right now. So yeah, I'm going to continue with this. And this, again, it's going to come to this fight between the Lily Bio and myself as to, and the Lily Bio has a better setup. It can run along some of this stuff until it can set things up so that it can go into Palermo. Using a train with narrow gauge, I guess. I don't know. But that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's not pleasant. So we'll stick with what we're at. And he is definitely buying that thing. And again, he has to set it at 68, which maybe makes him happy. God, this game is hell. Okay, so this guy, I started looking at what he's got. He had 136, 61, 71, 81, $185. Don't, what did I buy? I bought this as cheap as you can. 185 left, divided by 68. I can buy 2 shares. Except for the Archimedes, everything's 40. I got $136 in here. I do not have enough money. Did I start with too little cash? Because you can't start a company with that money. I mean, you just can't. Right? I have something that I could not start a company with, is what it's turning out to be. Whoops. Now, so yeah, if I spend $40 on my tokens, I'm below $100. I can't buy a choo-choo. Except maybe I can. And maybe other people could have too, because emergency money rating. The corporation is required to own a train. Well, why? I believe it's if you're connected, which means I'd be spending like $4 for a train, and that's not bad at all. So maybe I do buy this. What's the rule on why I must buy a train? It's not here. It must be somewhere. If a corporation has a route on which it could run a train, then it must own one. Yeah, it's standard rules for that. So Lily Bio is actually forced to buy a train on first turn, which means that $4 extra is fine. It actually does not hurt me at all. I feel like I'm, juggling so much shit to just try to get started with the game, right? And obviously, if there was more money, it would be easier to do, but man, what a fucking barrier. And some of it's because, yeah, we saw some bigger bids come out, but whoever bought this can't start a company without running into the cash crunch. Now, would this guy have been in okay shape? 100 and... Let me see if he screwed up. He's got 235, huh? Well, so, yeah, he could start one at 68. That wasn't the issue. The issue was he had to start this one. And that one could run a train. So maybe he could have thrown in the money. And same thing with this guy, although he's got even less money. So I don't know. You know, let's see if I fucked up. So we're looking at 235. So I could have put 200 in. 130, 70. I would have had to throw another 30 bucks in. I have that. It probably would have been a good idea. I'm not going to reverse this. Whatever. But this guy has enough cash that, or is close enough to the amount that he's just going to be pouring a little extra money. What it's going to mean, though, is that this poor fucker, I had the wrong shit there. He's going to get the shit company, which is kind of what I did in my analysis. And maybe it would have been better to get the best company for 30 bucks out of pocket. Although I paid a fortune for this already, so I'm already behind the 8 ball in terms of cash. That puts it to him, and he's not going to have enough for 2 shares right now, but he could buy a share of something that he thinks will do well. And do I want to do it right now? Well, nobody's going to take the Garibaldi from me at this point, although people could get close with 2 shares. One option that I can make is that I could buy a share right away, and that would probably be, that would be wise in terms of priority. What would it be in terms of flexibility? I wouldn't be able to sell that share yet. It's going to go down in value on the first operating round, but I think I can pretty much predict that this is my best money maker out of everything, so I'm just going to buy it. It brings up, oops, forgot to give him his 2 big shares of that. This brings up something that I forgot because I remembered that. Something. Great. So fucking useful, Enrico. So, what was that going to be? What did it bring up? I don't fucking remember. I don't know if it fucking matters. I like saying the word fucking a lot. I had to move to fucking Austria. Yeah, I don't remember what the hell. Total brain fart now. Got the mouth running, put the camera down, and I can remember. So, another thing would have been setting this at 68. There's a good chance somebody will buy a share of it. It looks like a good company. So if there are people sitting around, but the thing is, you might not be able to count on them doing it in the first operating round. How close would I be getting? Yeah, I don't know. And especially with this guy with his 30 bucks, that he could have paid out of pocket or whatever if things went south. He probably should have bought it. The risk was low enough. But again, I don't generally think in terms of losing money out of my pocket to buy $100 first train or whatever of the game. And getting your companies floated in this is not trivial, especially in the 5-player game. And that may be why people are saying, hey, they played in 4. Yeah, I actually like this though. I like the tightness. What I don't like is that I have to think so much and that I'm so likely to be wrong. But that's pretty standard for me, right? But this guy can't do it either. What the fuck? I'm looking at this money here. He put 4 shares in, right? 4 times 68. is 272. Oh, I bought the tokens already. Okay, good. No, I couldn't have. What the fuck is going on here? Somebody bought another share. Okay. Yeah, so 272 minus 130. I must have bought the tokens already. I can't remember because you're doing all these extra fucking stupid things that I'm not used to. But you know, whatever. So if we add 68, we should come to what's sitting on there, which is 210. Yeah, we're all good. Okay, just get a double check because you know it's breaking some of those normal assumptions about what happens, and yeah. Because I'm checking this guy and see if he can make it, and I'm not sure he can now. Can I have $200 to start a company at 200, and it's not a ridiculously expensive one. The Draconaria is the only other expensive one. So this is the Acrogarius. I have to pay 40 for my tokens. Okay. The fact that they're all different doesn't help. And that starts down here, which doesn't look happy to me at all, but who knows? You know, it doesn't look as good as this location in terms of the long-term expansion, but you know, it's got a nice short. It's got an acceptable early setup, and then maybe I make it through. Who knows? At least I have this. Only buying 2 shares. That 100. See, here's the thing. That 100 isn't like a par value, though. I have to be making, you know, runs, but it gives me a jump on that initial 68, where my shares are going to be worth more, presumably, as long as I don't fuck my company completely. This guy also is sitting on 200. He's got a decent choice of a company to start, but we got 5 companies. What happened last time? Well, what's obviously going to happen? It's going to be a $200 train for the last company, which is this one. He doesn't have 100 for it, does he? I thought he was the guy who doesn't have the cash. What the fuck? Oh, geez, now I got to recalculate him because something looks wrong. It looks like I didn't pay for my token with him. Okay, so he's probably screwed. 40. 25, I don't know. Doesn't look like there's anything easy. Okay, so he's screwed, right? He's at $96 and I should have been able to calculate this out, and is going to have to buy a $200 train out of pocket because he is hooked up. He has nothing he can do about it. He's going to be wiped out on the first turn of the game. Yeah, this is harsher than I like even. Just be that the game is not viable in 5, but does not meet expectations. There are people who cannot start a company. And in this case, I bought a $110 private. You know, in 1830, there are people who can't start a company. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to just start over again. Because, you know, I mean, what the problem is, in 1830, it's obvious you can't start a company, right? You need 6 shares. You can calculate that out pretty easily. Can I get 6 shares? No. Great. I don't have enough money. Then it becomes, you know, am I screwed because I tried to make a deal and it didn't work or whatever, and what's up with that? That sucks, but never make a deal in an economic game when other people are interested in seeing someone just knocked out of the game. Okay, so in this one, unlike in 1830, where yes, you might not be able to start a company to begin with, it's not clearly obvious. I'm sitting here, I calculate out, and maybe it is after a few plays, but I calculate it out on the first play, right, or third play really. I calculate it out and I say, okay, well, I can meet that first train. It's that there's only 4 of these fuckers. That's what's killing it. The fact that there's 5 players, all of whom can float a company, and only 4 of the trains there. Whereas in 1830, I don't know, what do you have? You have 6 or 8 2 trains available. I mean, it's hard to burn through them all, and it can happen. But then the run, any company that starts is just got tons of cash. In this, any company that starts has no cash, because not only is it partial cap, but you had to pay this premium. I don't know whether to continue at this point. Like, again, I think it's really, really easy to fuck up and not be able, and get yourself in a position where you're screwed for the game. Like, just screwed for the game. This guy would not be screwed for the game if he was an investor. And it would leave, him with the Lily Bio, which isn't a bad choice for him, and him with the ugly choice of, do you want the pink company or nothing, and yet another investor in the game. With, fighting over the limited companies that are more interesting. I don't know where I'd land on that. Let's take a look at because I remember, I'm having trouble here. I remember emergency fundraising. If a president's unable to, they sell all the stock, they're able to place all the money in the corporation treasury. The corporation is then closed. Okay, so that's what would happen. So he would be knocked out of the game, or he would take a $500 loan and be able to restart, and the Lily Bio would be put behind. He would have the option to start the best company in the game, but one that has a big chunk. Of course, he would also have $500, which is a lot more than he had before. I have the feeling that we're going to just roll this up and call it another failed start. And I don't know. I'll set it up again and try again, I guess. I don't know. It's frustrating, but and it's also a situation of I don't want to do anything. All right, up it goes. There should be a really serious warning in the game about the 5-player game. Like, just because, and again, how much hand-holding do you need? Well, when the game is likely to end up in somebody getting knocked out in the initial offering, the initial packet offering, I think a warning is deserved in the game. And yeah, I just kind of have this, come on. But the rule book is very much not forgiving in that sort of sense. It doesn't tend to give you any idea of anything. And I mean, you could say, well, it's an 18XX, you should be expecting things, blah, blah, blah. And I do. I've got no problem with, hey, it's a new 18XX that I haven't faced before, but, and there are obviously assumptions that I'm making, from other games that I'm bringing in. But the assumption that if I can start a company, it can actually operate at the beginning of the game, man, that's a one that very seldom has a problem. Yes, in 1830, you can buy the Erie and lose the game on turn 1. But it's fairly obvious, and you could shift to another company or whatever. But here, all this, it's so reliant on what other people are doing and everything, whether or not you're going to be able to start. I don't know what. There just should be like a big flashy sticker that tells you, don't do this. Don't play in 5 until you understand how the companies start, or something like that, because, yeah, you can start a company and it does not really exist. And so it also depends on the company. This is, I think, the only company, the only possible company, including the Garibaldi, wherever you place it, that is forced to buy a train. Which would mean that I could play out that stupid, okay, fine, I'll release stocks in round 2 and be able to buy my train in round 3 and actually be able to run in round 4. Now, I've lost the game already by that point, right? I mean, come on. Early money's important in an 18xx game, and I give up the first 4 operating rounds of money. Yeah, screw that, man. So yeah, I don't see that as a viable solution. And the only viable solution that I see is how many people pass on what things. So how much does this impact that starting packet bids? You know, keeping in mind what you're likely to be able to buy. I mean, it's like this really, really complex web that you've got to anticipate, and that's interesting and everything. That might be why the game is interesting. Because I wasn't that thrilled with the rest of the game comparatively. And I mean, if that's the case, yeah, that's kind of cool, you know. Tell me that's what it's about, though, that it's a game that you're going to crash on. You know, that navigating that initial packet and the initial stock round is really what most of the game is about, because that's kind of what it's feeling like. The companies are so different. Yeah, and you're forced into that by the packets, you know, by the initial stock, by the ordering of the corporations. You can't pick the one that you want. You're handed one. Do you want it or not? You know? Yeah. All right. Battery swap and we'll load it up.